No matter where you are in India, you would most likely have seen a bird today. Wild birds are all around us. But how are they faring? Are they doing well? Or are they on the decline? In 2022, BirdLife International released its 5th edition of the State of the World's Birds report. The results paint a very grim picture. Currently, 49% of the world's bird species are in decline. 1 in every 8 species is threatened with extinction. And only 6% of species show signs of increase. North America alone has lost 2.9 billion individual birds since 1970. Europe has lost 600 million. World over, the figures are alarming. If the birds of the world are doing so badly, what is their status in India? India has over 1/10 of the world's bird species. Evaluating hundreds of bird species across a land area of over 3 million square kilometers is a huge challenge. Luckily, birdwatchers and enthusiasts in India have been contributing their observations to public database for several years. With access to over 30 million observations, a partnership of governmental and scientific institutions have created a status report on India's birds.
This report talks about the status of 942 Indian birds. All these observations were uploaded to eBird, which is an online platform. The report is largely based on the citizens' contributions, and it's impossible without the contribution of people power, and that's the beauty of citizen science.
The data obtained from citizen science efforts has been invaluable in assessing up-to-date abundance trends of Indian birds. These results are interesting, but also worrying. For example, our national bird, the Indian peafowl, is doing extremely well. It is one of the most rapidly increasing species in the country today. In the last 20 years, they have expanded up into the Himalayas and into the rainforests of the Western Ghats. It now occurs in every district in Kerala, a state where it was once extremely rare. Likewise, the Asian quail has nearly doubled over this time period and continues to show an increase. But other species are not faring as well. The Indian roller, a striking bird of open landscapes, is declining rapidly. Most duck species are also doing very badly.
So the state of India's birds is primarily determined through 3 indices. There's a long-term trend, which is a comparison of the trend today versus what it was before 2000. There's a current annual trend, which is a metric that looks at what the current status of the bird is. It may have declined or increased in the long term, but what is happening to it today? And this is an annual change over the last 7 years. Then the third metric is distribution range size. How much area in the country does it occupy? So the understanding here is that a species that is more restricted is of greater priority than a species that is more widespread.
Using these 3 indices, each species was classified into one of 3 categories of conservation priority for India. Each of these indices uses a set of parameters to determine status. For example, a species is considered as rapidly declining in the long term if it shows a decline of over 50%. Similarly, in the short term, if decline is over 2.7% annually, it is also considered as rapidly declining. A species is considered very restricted in its distribution if its range is less than 7,500 square kilometers, while its range is considered very large if it is more than 1 million square kilometers. This report also takes into account IUCN's categorizations when ascertaining the status of a species. Using all this, a priority list for conservation for the entire country has been created. Besides a countrywide list, the report also features a state and union territory-wise list of species that are of highest conservation priority. The report mentions the top 4 priority species for each of these areas. By scanning the QR code, one can access the full list for each area online. It also provides a wealth of details, including range maps. The report also features trends of species which have been combined based on shared ecology, habitat, diet, and behavior. When grouped based on habitat use, the trends seem to show that generalist species, those that can live in multiple habitat types, are doing very well. In contrast, however, habitat specialists are showing declines. Grassland species especially show the sharpest decline, which may reflect the fact that grasslands as a habitat are highly threatened. India's geographic placement makes it a critical stop for migratory birds. Many long-distance migrants spend winters in India, making it a crucial stop for sometimes entire populations of these species. Short-distance migrants, those species that migrate within India or exhibit altitudinal migration, are showing declines, but not as much as long-distance migrants. Keeping with the globally observed trends, birds that breed in the Arctic are showing severe declines. Data shows their numbers have gone down by close to 80% as a group. Grouping by diet also provides valuable insights. Birds that feed on fruit and nectar are doing well, maybe because these resources are readily available even in heavily modified rural and urban landscapes. On the other hand, raptors and vultures, birds that feed on vertebrates and carrion, have declined the most. Birds that feed on invertebrates, including insects, are declining rapidly. This observation is significant against the backdrop of plunging insect populations worldwide.
The second iteration of the State of India's Birds reports has a very strong section on policy recommendations and implications for conservation. We find that 178 birds in India are of high conservation concern, and we give general recommendations on how this can be dealt with as a society. We also have important conservation research and policy implications in almost every other section of the report.
The State of India's Birds report also discusses in detail some of the major threats and suggests potential mitigation measures.
So overall, I think that the SOIB report is a very useful reference and guide for researchers and scientists. I actually see this report as an invitation to ornithologists to take up important questions. Today, we definitely need better and clearer evidence collected over larger areas to guide our conservation policy.
The report is available in print and online and is accompanied by a website with additional details and features. For a deep dive into the data and to create customized reports and maps, one can also use the Myna desktop tool. Assessing the state of India's birds has been possible through the generosity of birdwatchers in sharing their observations and the collaboration of multiple organizations in analyzing and collating the report. This sort of public and collective participation and collaboration is vital if we are to conserve our precious birds and biodiversity.